Well, hey friends, yesterday we had that solar eclipse. So many beautiful photos from friends out there across, especially from the East Coast. And I thought I'd ask, how are we coming out of that eclipse? I know that the sun, the moon, and Chiron, the wounded healer, were all at the exact same degree point for that eclipse. And so I'm really curious about what Chiron and that wounded healer process in Aries has to tell us. So I just thought I'd pull my favorite little spread and see what is going on in the cards for us today. Okay, so first of all, we're going to pull an oracle card from, a tarot deck. And the overall feeling is of the Queen of Fire. Yes, lots of fire. I feel it. Aries is fire. So we're having an eclipse in Aries. This makes me think of that sunlight that we lost sight of briefly or partially, or we thought about losing sight of, or we imagined the history of losing access to the certainty of sunlight during the day. And so that's what this Queen of Fire is about. And she's just this very beautiful, desirable energy. She is very much about expand what she puts her attention and focus towards, desire, what her desires are. But also she can get negative. And so where are you putting your focus? Is it in an optimistic or a pessimistic direction towards your passion or towards your doubts that you can accomplish that passion? Because we have wounded healer in the mix, we want to think about how we can go through much of our life walking wounded. And those people who are my age, we've had Chiron return. So Chiron a few years ago went right back over the place where it was in my chart on the day I was born. And so there has been opportunity for a lot of healing in this time. And those of you who are younger than me, I'm 53. So you may want to look at where Chiron is in your chart. If you're around my age, you may have been experiencing this process as well. But we all are, because we all have the eclipse that came there. So with this and underlying this, we have, and I've been getting this so much, is a Knight of Wands or a Messenger of Fire in this deck. So these two redheads, or she is not redhead. She ought to be in my mind. She has very fair hair. Or is that? Yeah, that's hair. It's like silver hair, like mine. When I said that, I saw my hair. And then the younger Messenger of Fire. This is coming up in my readings, and I'm not doing a lot of readings right now. I'm doing other things, as you may have noticed if you care about this channel. But this Messenger of Fire this is what I've been directed in personal readings to focus on and to embrace. It's a kind of passionate, lack of commitment, player energy. It feels fun. It's less serious than I like to think I am. So we've got lots of passion, lots of desire, sexy, sexy, sexy energy here. So it's Aries, sign of fire that we're in. We're also going to be seeing Mars come across the same region next. And Mercury is in retrograde. We'll also cover this. So we're just like exploring this area. I think Venus as well. Look at that, because I just looked at a reading in a chart and then I fell asleep on it. So I might have dreamed some of it up. Always good to check my work I'm not an astrologer. Okay, so I've been shuffling and jabbering. So we're gonna pull 5 cards, and the first card as usual is, as we move forward, what shall we leave behind? There is a waiting, a 3 of Wands. energy. This is about manifestation. You had a vision and then you kind of put it out there and then you're waiting for it to come in. So it's like if you felt, I've felt this wintry feeling, waiting for spring. So we're going to leave behind that anticipation of a vision coming to fruition, of some kind of manifestation coming in. We're going to leave that behind. There may be that you've been waiting for somebody to help you, and it's time to quit doing that. I'm not really that way, but I can wait for a person or news or something like that. This one has, I always think it's about this bird back here, and then this one is helping. So it's very much about divine help, outside help too, as much as it is, in particular because this bird brings in that wand, which is, so we've got all fire, all wands, all the same suit so far on the table, lots and lots of fire. Okay, so what shall we embrace here? Clarity of the Queen of Swords. I see how we're letting go of this wand, and so another bird bringing in a sword. So there's some kind of a truth, and the Queen of Swords is very powerful. When she has clarity, she acts on it. And so if there's somebody that's not fitting in her life, the Queen of Swords removes that person with and she's sometimes represented as cold, but I never think of swords as cold. And I think, though I've never wielded a sword in battle, I think it takes warmth. It takes a willingness to use the truth. It comes maybe not from as hot and fiery a place as a wand, but from a place of warmth. And the swords are the suit of air, which is blood, and blood is warm and wet. In the humoral science that underlies astrology and the logics and frameworks that are a part of tarot history. So we have a moving out of waiting and into moving into action with truth, with clarity. Great. So now I wanted to ask what Chiron brings to this and what this eclipse. So this card is the card of what is happening in the stars. And so what do they have to tell us today? Wow, there's that sword, and it comes with justice. Wow, really a fantastic, powerful image. Now we have a bat who flies at night, uses radar, standing on the sword of truth. And that thread, the red thread, I want to say, because you could use this in spells to trap fairies. So if you do a protection spell for your house, for example, you might put a red thread in there and around a nail. That's interesting. So the sword comes into me as like a part of a protective spell. And what you want to do is say trap a bad fairy that is coming in the night to disturb your dreams. For example, I've put one of these in my bedroom window. I do have sometimes a nightmare that somebody is watching me. And so as a part of my studies, I was taught to make a protective spell with water and nails and a red thread. And the idea of the thread is that the bad spirit just gets tangled up on it and confused and then drowns in the water. So there's something about that. I feel like there's a protective spell that has been cast of some kind, and it has to do with justice. And there's something, I'm thinking about a particular really important justice. Like we've been waiting, and now it's time for that to happen. And I'm thinking about the first of 4 criminal cases happening in the United States here. And this is where I'm thinking about justice. So there may be another place in your life where you're thinking about justice. it could be very personal, like a legal situation that you've had, that you've been in. And so it looks very much like pow, like something is going to happen. And it feels good. It feels very positive. It's like we've come to the other side of something that we've been waiting for, and we're ready to act with clarity and truth. And it's not always an easy truth, but it's the truth. And there's some kind of magical protective snare for bad spirits that's a part of this, that we could think of this eclipse. And this makes me think of, there were these really beautiful images from the Webb telescope of the sun looking very much like a flower, like kind of like this. With the moon, you could really see a lot of the details of the moon on it. I saw this. I posted one of these on my Facebook. So it's reminding me of the eclipse right there. And then, so then the bat is coming in for me as like Chiron. And the story of Chiron, the wounded healer, I believe is a centaur. But the healer heals others from that wound. And so whatever you are healing in your life, this is a source of wisdom. And that there's a gift that comes from having suffered the pain of that wound, and that you then are able to help other people and heal other people. But this is also about healing yourself. So there's a lot going on here. This is the perfect card, I think, for that meeting of, which is a conjunction of the sun and the moon and Chiron, where they line up at the same degree point relative to us. Okay, so the tarot wants you to know something that you don't know, and that is the Lovers. Beautiful. This can be a decision. It can also be a really intense soulmate connection. So you don't know about this, but it's here for you to know. There's a very powerful Scorpio dance here going on. This is not a card of Scorpio, it's a card of Gemini. But the artist has chosen scorpions because they dance. And then sometimes the female chooses to kill the person, the other scorpion, the other person that she's dancing with, which is a choice of no. And sometimes they mate. And we have this under the caduceus sign, the symbol of healing, and then this beautiful moth. It's a very much reminds me of the death card, of a death card, right? This kind of transformation. And the scorpions, which are associated with Scorpio and the death card, are associated. I'm also called to see in a way that I notice every time I look at this card, but which I'm especially called to notice, which is that there is a division here. There's two different colors, kind of a reddish brown and a bluish black over here. And so that these scorpions represent these opposing sides. And there feels like there's a healing that is happening here. Very transformative and kind of rising up out of this unified. So I feel very good about what this reading says is happening in terms of a choice being made that's unifying instead of destructive. And, we keep seeing this sort of rising up of winged beings, right? All through all of these cards, there's an uprising, and it's holding the truth, and it's holding healing and unification across a divide. The Lovers. The Lovers are, so if we think of this as you're being told by this reading that the tarot wants you to know that your big number one lover is, you don't know who that is, but they're there. They're coming. There's something you don't know right there. So that would be the person that you are met, mind, heart, body, soul, in all ways. We do know that the queen of the law of attraction is here. So you're being suggested to be like, go forward, fiery, in your most sexy, attractive self. It's a very fiery and dynamic energy that is combining with the truth and a very positive feeling, I think, of choice. We will clarify all of this with another tarot deck, not just my intuition and looking at images. Let's pull one more card and then we'll clarify. So this is the future. It's a beautiful image of a polar bear and her little one. This is the future. It's a 9 of Swords. It's not comfortable. There's anxiety. There's insomnia. So this doesn't feel like an easy time. It feels a little bit dramatic. All these are very dramatic cards. Queen of Swords is dramatic. Justice, the Lovers. And then we end up here with the 9 of Swords, all happening under the Queen and Knight of Wands. So if we've been waiting, we're about to be moving into a pretty dynamic, dramatic time. And so we can see ourselves in the near future here protecting the inner child. And that's a lot of what this, or a child, like the young. There's an elder protective polar bear who protects the little one here, who's just a sleepy, dreamy little polar bear cub. So who are you? Are you the little cub that's being protected, or are you the protective one? Or you may identify as both if you're thinking about inner child work, right? Like, I'm the grown-up in my life and I take care of my little inner polar bear cub here. And so there can be this feeling of anxiety that we're going to be having here. And that makes sense to me, especially because I kind of am thinking about this as the political realm. When I do these collective readings, I'm either wondering about the political realm globally, nationally, or I'm thinking about the earth and what we're supposed to do with earth. And I feel very much that this is about the political sphere and about justice finally coming in. And the Lovers, I want to clarify because that is a choice. And I can see both division and unification in that. And it's going to be uncomfortable. We can see we're looking ahead at some discomfort. And wonderfully, we can see that this all comes under the Hanged Man. So this is about seeing things from a new perspective and being stuck until we do. So that's the Hanged Man. I kind of feel like we're captive and this is happening, and it's uncomfortable to not be able to do anything about it. Like I feel powerlessness here while like there's something very dramatic happening. And even if you read this Lovers card, what the tarot wants you to know, or this Justice card, that there's some way that justice and some kind of protective spell are coming into your life. Like there's a huge feeling of divine support that I think that this polar bear feels like divine support while you are sleeping. And that makes me think of the charm in my window as well. Just kind of being protected, but held and powerless to really do much. And so it's a bit of an uncomfortable feeling. All right, well, let's clarify. Maybe there's something more or certainly there's always more that we can learn. And this deck really wanted to talk to you and wanted to have the most cards in the reading. And so we'll give you 3 cards for each one of these 5 base cards and see what comes up in that. This is the very first deck I ever got. I call it my little sweetheart deck. Yeah, she wants to be cut. All right. Here we go. 3 of Wands. We see victory, blue and integrity, rising above. It's a Wands, a 6 of Wands. And then we see justice here. This is your release. And the Daughter of Pentacles, young, grounded, earthy. energy. So there has been waiting for some kind of recognition, but what it looks like is it looks as though justice has been quite preoccupied with itself, like very privately doing its thing here. And then this feels like you just expectant, trying to stay grounded and waiting for this recognition that is victory. There's a definite waiting for something that's quite obscure to happen. And we can see justice comes in a little bit later in a much more overt and dramatic way. But yeah, that's what you're moving away from that time. That time is coming to a close. And so now, this is what is coming in, what is time to embrace. The clarity and the action of the Queen of Swords. Self-harm. You can see that poor little earthworm cut in two. The swords are thoughts. So air, the swords to your mind. So there's some kind of self-harm here, which is always an opportunity to be done with that, okay? And another difficult card, another 5. Feeling of poverty and betrayal and of being left out. And thirdly, there's our Son of Wands. It's the same card. This is coming up over and over for me, maybe for you, in the embrace. This is very magical. It's mysterious and magical to me when I see that red-headed woman with a candelabra around her head. She's that expression. It's very mysterious to me. And here the snake represents the suit of wands in this deck. And that explosive. Again, I think of that image of the eclipse, looking like a sunflower with a moon in front of it. It's a real shift that happens under this Queen of Swords from these 2 5s, self-harm, feeling left out, into just going out as yourself, away from this sort of self-pity that you, and there's 2 forms here of self-harm and self-pity. The 5 of Swords is mental, and the 5 of Pentacles, it's about not having enough. It's about poverty. So it can be quite real. They're both also states of mind. They're perspectives. They're passageways where you can walk away from this feeling and towards something else. And this is what you're being told to walk towards once you have the clarity that the Queen of Swords brings in. So you've been waiting. You've been feeling pretty crappy. It's like it's been a tough winter, right? And then truth comes in and clarity. And then you go forward fast. The Messenger of Fire or the Son of Wands that's a very fast, passionate energy. It's not angry like the Knight of Swords is angry, but it's very fast and it's very passionate. And you're really moving away from and out of a kind of self-pity, feeling of abandonment and poverty, a very down, depressed state. I feel it's some truth and clarity that gives you the power to go boom, right out. So this is what we see happening here through this eclipse, this really amazing and protective spell, this very magical and powerful sense of justice. Finally, there's finally justice. The truth is finally seen. And then we go forward. We have clarity as we go forward. So what else? What about justice? The Hierophant. So this is structural power. It's big history. It's some kind of a mentor. Having the key here. And there's all kinds of doors, like the 5 of Pentacles that we just saw. Not in this deck, but in others. It can look like a door that's closed to you, but there's a key. You can open that. So there's the key of knowledge, and it comes in like this lightning bolt. There's something sudden. There's this quick, fiery, sudden clarity that's coming in. It's a truth. And then there's abundance, beautiful. The ultimate pentacle is you can only get to 10, and this is the completion of a cycle of abundance. Very powerful. The money coming together. And money is just a symbol, right, for the material world, for the job, the home. And there is your 3 of Wands. This is what you are actually said to release. And here it comes in, a manifestation, something beautiful that you envisioned. It's like just when you gave up hope. In fact, you are advised in this reading to forget about it, to let it go. And then here it comes. It has come in suddenly with this big shift that we've had with this eclipse. I like seeking around in myself, because I did feel a real shift yesterday. Like in the morning, it was a nice morning, but then right around the event itself, around 11:30, I was able to be sitting and conscious of what was happening up there, which I couldn't be outside for good reason. I could feel it. It just felt like uncomfortable. And I just knew if I just sat it out and I just let it happen, that it would change. So what is that? What is that thing that you've been sitting in a certain state of mind, and you've been wishing you were in a better state of mind, and it came in? What is that about? That came in yesterday. That's what this is. It's about something came in, and it's beautiful, and it's a dream and a vision. And some kind of key was given. A message was brought. And it's a big one. It's like the big history. And when I say big history, I mean you have your personal life history, and then there's a history of a nation or of the world. And the Hierophant represents structural power, like church and state, these institutions. And it can also be a teacher, right? So this is the source of some kind of key that was revealed with this eclipse. And so if we think about the wounded healer, perhaps that is the messenger, or I don't know, I keep wanting to say, I know what happened yesterday on the news, so that's what it's touching for me. But there's a big shift happening, and it's something that you've wanted to have happen, and this tells me it's causing people to change their minds. People's minds are changing, and then they're coming out of a funk, and it's really beautiful, and it's very exciting and dynamic, even though, as we can see ahead, it comes with some anxiety. But let's see. First of all, we want to find out what the tarot wants us to know is this Lovers card, which is such a provocative image. It's not romantic at all. Unless you're down with Scorpion love, which of course I am, but it doesn't feel romantic to me. It feels intense. It's like you may or may not be killed by your dance partner kind of feeling. Okay, there's more changing of minds. So you can see those swords are put down, and then people walk towards that rainbow. This is real movement in the mind. Wow, strength. Rising to your highest self. Putting down our animal violence and coming forward with our hearts, like that lion heart. There's the sun coming out from under the eclipse, right? And coming forward with a rose in his teeth, this lion, gentled by love. There's often a woman putting your hand in the mouth of the lion in a strength card. The strength card is the card that beats the devil. I really have this feeling about the lovers as with that hangman. There's some kind of change in our minds. It's much needed. It's towards our higher self, and it's potentially unifying. And then, interestingly, a Four of Pentacles. So there is a choice here. Four of Pentacles is it's a much smaller worldview. It's controlling. It's authoritarian. We are in a dilemma point between the ideal true-hearted beauty of the Strength card and this small worldview of the Four of Pentacles. That's the dilemma of the lovers here. And the card here that seems most important to me is the Six of Swords, because we can see the putting down of paradigms, of stories. These swords represent our thoughts, right? Stories, paradigms. And walking towards a rainbow to me, and we just saw all of this kind of rainbow, beautiful abundance, dream coming true energy here. I'm inclined to see this not as a done deal, this dilemma, but as leaning towards the Strength card. And it's maybe the significance is that we get to know we're moving away from this small worldview, this authoritarianism that is really coming forward as a choice that many people are kind of open to, strangely. To me, I don't get it. I don't have a single bone in my body that wants to be dominated and in danger. So the future, Nine of Swords. There's those thoughts that keep you up at night. What are those thoughts? What's this about? Contentment, wish fulfillment, Nine of Cups. So we have two nines, being near the end of a cycle, feeling. Beautiful Mother of Cups, Queen of Hearts. Very emotionally available and open, expressive, reaching towards that Nine of Cups. And the classy love offer himself, the Knight of Cups. So all these cups in the future, really beautiful. There's like a reaching towards wish fulfillment from your heart of hearts. Like, this is a shift to the heart. And there's a lot of mother-child feel here, because we've got the Queen and the Messenger of Fire overall. So that's like and then here we have these two underneath. And this is why I see this. It's nurturing. Yeah, it's a big, wild world. It's stormy out there. But there is a nurturing, and it's a good future. It's a heart-centered future. This is a time, though, that's calling us through some extremes. They're uncomfortable. There's the threat of authoritarianism is here. So, again, like, I tend to think about, when I do a collective reading, I tend to think about what's happening in the world and big history, right? But you can also think about this as being about you getting free and freed to your heart. There's been a feeling of oppression, and it's still there for you. And in a way, like, one of the things that I've thought as a 53-year-old person and a history teacher is that I really was born into a moment where the Equal Rights Amendment was going to get passed, where we were talking about poverty being ended, that there would not be little children who were hungry. And that at that moment, there was also the birth of a social and political movement that was going in the opposite direction, and which has really prevailed in my lifetime, that we've seen disparity of wealth, increase in poverty, increase in violence, a loss of rights for women And the most obvious and apparent example of that is the Dodd decision made by the Supreme Court, which just today I saw described because Uganda used it to make an argument that this decision was about taking away our autonomy over our bodies. That's pretty amazing. So that's this feeling, right? Authoritarianism. But with that was, and this speaks to the lovers and this dilemma between strength, which is so beautiful and open-hearted and outside of violence and control, the opposite of it, so that we have this dilemma between authoritarianism and the strength card. And that a part of what Uganda said about the Dodd's decision, which took down Roe, if you don't know, the right to abortion here in the U.S., that it was put back to the voters, and that the voters ought to pick what they wanted instead of a Supreme Court back in the 70s. And so I'm just thinking about all of these threats to our personal sovereignty over our bodies and our lives. And that this reading is reassuring to me. It doesn't say just lie around and let it happen, though. It has the Queen of Fire and the Messenger of Fire. Here we're being encouraged to act with clarity. We're going to be supported. It's going to be uncomfortable, but the heart will prevail. That's what this reading says overall. And let's see, underlying Energy 1 card. It's a Two of Pentacles. It's a balancing. Again, balanced by that infinite rainbow. And there's a transformation here in the butterfly. Lots of transformation feeling. Good. We need it. Yeah. I mean, again, usually you guys are so good at reading your lives into how I read the cards. So I encourage you to do that, to think about your personal situations. But there is also a larger collective message here about the time that we're going through and the role that justice will play here, and that there's going to be truth. And the truth is going to kind of come and wake us up and bring in a lot of beauty. It's like it's going to call us to our highest selves. And it's not a selfishness. It's the opposite of selfishness. It's this kind of calling to love and protect, even though it's scary out there. Like it's almost as if these are all like, take care of your child, your inner child, your real child, your pet, your planet, like the things that need care and protection, and that we're going to be called to that, and that is a source of our strength. And then there's a lot of divine support here and magic. So yes, good. It's a good reading. I'm excited, like kind of like on the edge of my seat, excited. It feels like finally a good movie, and you just sort of have faith in the director of the film and in the storytellers that it's going to be okay, but it's going to be very captivating and it's a thrill ride that we're on here. Lots of shocks and so much feeling on the table. I don't know. That's just my intuitive, how the images are coming at me while I see them all here. Yay, I hope we can sleep through it. The Nine of Swords says we may lose sleep, but we're being held, and we'll rise to our best selves. Okay. Hang in there, my friend, whatever you're going through. Your life is transforming. And the way that you see things, the way that other people see things is changing. And that's good. We need to change our minds. All right. Have a beautiful day.